Hello, welcome to Tarot with Tanya. This is 7 cards for 7 days. And we're focusing on the week of Monday, February 3rd to Sunday, February 9th. Getting close to my mother's birthday. Thank you so much for being here, and please take everything as it resonates with you, and anything that doesn't, just let that go. Keep developing your own intuition. Use this as something to bounce off of, maybe. This week, we don't have a lot of aspects going on, but we have some interesting stuff. We begin our week with the moon in Aries. And I'll talk more this time about Venus going into Aries on that same day, Monday. And that'll give you kind of the flavor of both. And know when you've got Venus there and the moon there, that's going to be amplified. So, it's very passionate. It can be very sincere, competitive. It can be also compulsive about romance, maybe a little possessive even. So, you get these wonderful qualities of Aries, being a pioneer, having a lot of initiative, a lot of energy. And then there, is, I think, a need. It helps us to remember, put it that way, that it is also the infant of the zodiac, the baby, so it's like it wants to get its way, and it can be like that. It can be almost too childlike if we take it to the darker side, or too aggressive because it is ruled by Mars. At the same time, we have on that day, Monday, Mercury trining Jupiter. So trines are happy. They're pretty good flows. So we could feel also very happy and optimistic. It can be good for buying and selling, for contracts, for short trips. Mercury rules those. And, it's good for future plans. So Jupiter expands what it touches, so that's that connection there. So it takes all of that energy that Mercury is having, and again, expanding that. So, communication could be very effusive, that kind of energy. And then I'm going to go back to the moon for a few minutes, because once it goes through Aries this week, it will also, of course, pass through Taurus, and that's a much more feminine, earthy kind of energy, grounding, and then it will move to Gemini, the thinking, the twins, the mind, and that's, we talked about Mercury now being, trying to Jupiter, so it's, we'll have that energy as well in the Gemini. And that's where the Jupiter is right now. And it also gets even more complicated because it goes direct, but I'll talk about that in a minute. And then, so we go through the Gemini, and then we end our week with the moon in Cancer. And that's a lovely one for Sunday. It's a great day to be home, to nurture yourself, nurture the people you love, cook, do homey kinds of things. Go inward. The water signs are more associated with the feminine and the psychic abilities. All right. So, Tuesday, Jupiter does turn direct in Gemini. And, when we have these retrogrades, we're going backwards with the energy. We're covering ground we've already covered to kind of deepen those lessons. And when it's going to go direct now on Tuesday, it will emphasize travel, expansion, growth, study, faith, new ventures. All of that is favored, encouraged as Jupiter starts to move itself forward. Then on Friday, the 7th, we have Venus sextile Pluto. And that's a mixed bag, because the sextiles, it's an easy energy, it's a flow, the planets are communicating well. Venus is about love, our feminine selves. It's also about our money, our relationships, and Pluto is a transformer, and it often does that through some pretty intense energies. So it can it reminds me of the Tower in a way, sort of tear things up, so that something better can be born. It can be very revealing. So you kind of want to watch out that day for any sort of jealousies or, kind of petty stuff that could come in through the Venus connecting with that Pluto. I would say, go for the depth in the relationship. Go for what's working well. Deepen the commitment if you're looking at romantic relationships. It could be about deepening your commitment to humanity too, because Pluto is now in Aquarius, the sign of humanity, of the genius, the avant-garde, things like that. And with Venus there, it could give you some pretty creative, interesting stuff. But you have the Venus and Aries at that point, and the Pluto in Aquarius, and those get along, those two signs. But you just want to watch for that darker side of Pluto. Finally, on Sunday, we have the Sun conjuncting Mercury and Mars trining Saturn. So that can be a great day. The Sun brings that warmth and light and optimism, the revelations. And when it's connected to Mercury, we're going to want to talk, maybe take short trips, express ourselves in some, warm, creative way. And then the Mars trining, so, Mercury and the Sun, will be in Aquarius, of course. And then what I wanted to get at was that the conjunction means that they're on top of each other, basically. There's a certain amount of degrees, we call it an orb, but essentially at that point, Sunday, they are right on top of each other. And then Mercury moves very quickly. It'll go faster away from the Sun. And then Mars is trining Saturn, so that's another really nice, easy, conjunctions don't have to be easy, but this is a good one. But Mars and trining Saturn, it's a nice flow again, good communication, and it will give us really good energy, because Mars represents energy, and trining with Saturn, we'll be focused. We'll know what our goals are and have really good energy and ideas to work toward those goals. All right, so that's our astrology. Now we'll look at the cards, and if you've been following, I'm using the Aquarian deck as we're in the season of Aquarius. And that'll go until about February 19th, 20th, right around in there. And this week, for our cards, we begin and end with majors. So we have 2 for the week, none in between, and it's a little bit more on the masculine side as it was, it's dry, as it was last week, because we have more fire and air energy. They're considered the more masculine elements. But we begin with card 11 of the majors, Justice. I think a lot of us are looking for some justice right now. I don't know what that's going to mean for you personally, obviously. It could be something like, you go to work and something, good happens. Maybe somebody gets a comeuppance, or, in a larger sense, where is justice in our government, let's say? Where is justice in society in general? So, pardon me, whether it is personal or more, societal, look for that justice in some way. Excuse me first. Sorry, I had to pause and take a drink of water. Actually, I had to go get more water. Winter, dry heat. Anyway, our first card was Justice. Our second card for the week, so this is our Tuesday, is the 5 of Rods, which is the wand energy. That's the masculine one, as I mentioned. And this one, of course, we only see 4 people, But there is that fifth rod or wand behind the person in the background, the farthest one from us. And so there's that representation. Fives always connect to the Hierophant. I remember we had fives last week. I believe it was then. And, we're learning lessons of humanity. So what do we do with our energy? How do we stir things up to get a better solution? So that energy of things being stirred up could very much happen that day. And remember, it's that wonderful day of Jupiter turning direct in Gemini. So it might just kind of feel like, oh, that's a change. And what am I going to do with that kind of energy? And then again, we might look out in a larger sense toward the collective and see where some of this contentious stuff is happening and people kind of jockeying for a position. Then on our Wednesday, we have a balance between the masculine and the feminine in this one, because it is a queen. The feminine, masculine comes in with the element, the air, the swords. It can be a person, it can be an actual, it doesn't have to be, a female, but a feminine energy that is a bit sharp. Good with the words, good with ideas, clear thinker, might be a very effective communicator. But at the same time can be a little too sharp, a little, cutting with the words. So we kind of want to watch for that energy as well. And it can represent a person, or that's what I started to say earlier, or just that energy within the self. And if it's a person, usually an older woman. So on our Thursday, we're moving into definitely a feminine energy with the Pentacles, the Earth. And the 8 here is a crafts person, somebody who can do something extremely well, or is in the journey to learning to do something extremely well. So, for yourself, you might look around and see if this energy is present for you in some way. Are you working on developing a craft? It could be cooking, it could be making something, it could be more intentionally designing your own life, things like that. That 8 connects to the Strength card. So how can you make yourself feel stronger? By noticing what it is tangibly that you might be very good at doing, or on your way to be very good at doing. And then on Friday, we do get a king. And so he's going to be kind of a companion to our queen. He's a double masculine, because it's the rods or the wands, the fire element, and then a king. And I love that red bird that they've incorporated into the hat here. It just looks so, all right, I'm going straight forward. This is instinct, intention, moving forward, maybe by instinct, but it looks very intentional, can be quite passionate, goes for who or what it wants. So again, that is our Friday energy. So if it's yourself, you want to, be mindful not to run roughshod, passionately, but a little bit blindly over someone else potentially, or your own self. Or if it's another person, it could be, a male figure or a masculine energy coming at you like that. It's well intentioned. It just can be a little assertive. So Saturday. This card tends to scare some people. I have some friends who don't like this one at all, but it doesn't really bother me. The more I read, the more that's true. Swords, masculine, the air energy again, so it fits with our queen this week, just like our king fit with the 5 of rods. And this is the end of something. Some concept, some ideas, some announcement, the ending to something. And I was telling a friend the other day, it always makes me think about Thelma and Louise. If you've seen that film, where at the end they drive off the cliff, they are not going back. And I see it, metaphorically, symbolically, not literally. And so what is it that you're like, no, finish with that. That's not going to happen anymore. I need to go a new direction with something. And it can feel really good. Here, of course, you see all the swords in the back, so, hopefully that's not the way it approaches you. But we also, again, in the larger culture, in the world, might see something like this. So, we'll see once that day gets here. And then, last but not least of our week, we have a big reset with the Fool. So that's 0 card in the majors. It is wholeness and innocence. You'll often see, here you can't quite tell, that part's not showing, but often there'll be the old, well, at least what I was taught. I mean, now we'd say homeless, but way back it was the hobo, and you had the stick and the kerchief and the few, belongings and the stick. And there's a hint of that here, though this is a fairly fancy Fool. He has a nice coat and so forth, and a flower, and that's kind of that, symbolism of the wholeness and the innocence. If you know the old nursery rhyme, Humpty Dumpty, that's the Fool falling off. Once you come into experience and lost your innocence, there's no going back. But here is this symbolic reset. So we could feel like fools. We could have the energy and the openness and the joy of the Fool. Maybe both. We'll see, again, what comes that day. But be looking for those possibilities. And I really like the idea of the reset, especially since the day before we had the ending of something, and now this wonderful, holistic, new beginning. All right, and that coincides with that really nice day of the Sun conjuncting Mercury and Mars trining Saturn. So again, maybe a plan for a journey or some kind of metaphorical trip. And thanks for hanging in there. We're going to end with the Keeper of Transformation card from the Tree Keeper's Oracle. These are so pretty. So compassion and compatibility, or excuse me, compassion and accountability are 2 wings belonging to the same butterfly. To transform your inner life, you must engage both. Likewise, you are able to transform your relationships and outward experiences into their highest potential when you seek the balance of compassion and accountability. You are being asked in this moment to see your situation impartially. Where do you need to be accountable or hold someone else accountable? Where and how do you get to engage compassion for yourself, for others, or for a situation that needs grace and mending? I don't know, this one really, really, really resonated with me because I felt immediately, without ever knowing I'd known it, that we do tend to put those to 2 sides. Accountable, masculine, compassion, feminine, and it's like, well, wait a minute, we want integration. And so I just love that Keeper of Transformation and that kind of integration. So beloveds, thank you so much for being here again. Please share, like, subscribe. I so appreciate that too. And I'm wishing you the best possible week. And if you're interested in a personal reading, there'll be information below. Otherwise, I'll see you in 7 days.